and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrestling with Fans podcast. This is a pro wrestling podcast created by fans for fans from a fan's perspective. My name is Kyle. This is episode 224, The Sami Zayn's Problem? Question mark? That's right, we're going to talk about the fallout from the Royal Rumble. Appreciate everybody who checked out last week's episode. Thanks again, Rick, for joining me for our Royal Rumble review. Had a lot of fun watching it over at his place and talking about it with him after the fact. But now that the first week of TV post Royal Rumble is in the books, it's time to talk about some things that we found out from this week. Some things, leading into Elimination Chamber, and some things potentially affecting WrestleMania. But before we do that, let's get all the fun stuff out of the way right now. Let me just interrupt myself here for a quick moment. First off, thank you for checking out Wrestling with Fans here on YouTube. If you're enjoying what you see, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below. The other ways you can help support the show is to follow us across all of our other social medias. Check us out, facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk smash that like button. Keep up to date with everything going on here with Wrestling with Fans. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. Check us out on the web at WrestlingWithFans.com. New audio shows go up every single Sunday at midnight. Or you can take us on the go and download us to your favorite podcast, the listening device. You can get us wherever you get your podcast fix. Just search Wrestling with Fans Podcast. We are on all the major platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Wherever you get your podcast fix, you can find Wrestling with Fans. Last but certainly not least, comments, questions, feedback, topics you want covered on the show, shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. Links to everything are down in the video description down below, so make sure you check that out. Without further ado, back to the show. Alright guys, so let's talk about it. So this week, after what we saw with Raw and what we saw on SmackDown, there's a lot of people I've seen on YouTube, I've heard in podcast form, that are worried about what's WWE is going to do with Sami Zayn. Now, what we know right now is that at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which is coming to us February 18th, so 2 weeks away from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, we're going to see Roman Reigns defend the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Sami Zayn in his hometown. Touch more on the Elimination Chamber here in a bit, what we know so far. There are 3 matches currently announced. So, the problem is, that people are saying, is that the crowd is going to want Sami versus Roman at WrestleMania. But right now, for WrestleMania 39, we have Cody Rhodes, the winner of the Men's Royal Rumble, going against Roman Reigns, or whomever the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion is at WrestleMania. Right now, it's Roman Reigns. And that's the matchup. I mean, there's not many people who I think believe Sami has a realistic shot to dethrone Roman with Cody on the horizon at WrestleMania. I mean, that's the match. But what people are saying is they are comparing Sami Zayn to previous times this has happened, and the crowd has completely turned on WWE. Go all the way back to WrestleMania 30, so 9 years ago? 2014, I believe. You had the whole the Blue Tista debacle. Batista wins the Rumble. You have Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. It leads to, the match with Daniel Bryan and Triple H to open. If Daniel Bryan wins, he's added to the main event, which he did win. Goes on to the main event and wins the title. And it was a crowd that forced WWE's hand to put Daniel Bryan in this spot. Fast forward a couple years later, I don't remember the exact year, but you have Kofi Mania. I think, was that WrestleMania 34, 35, I believe. So probably 2018, Kofi Mania, kind of same thing. Kofi got in the Elimination Chamber because Mustafa Ali was injured, I believe. Kofi gets in. He wins the opportunity to go on to WrestleMania, wins the belt from Daniel Bryan. It's Kofi Mania. The crowd wanted Kofi. Like, everybody wanted Kofi to win. And now we get to 2023. And arguably the best storyline in the last decade. You have Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. It's been going on for almost a year, like 8 or 9 months. This story's been going on. And now we have finally come to, the big moment where Sami refused to hit KO at the Rumble last week, which, we talked about on last week's show. If you haven't checked out last week's podcast, check it out. Rick and I did a really fun review of the Royal Rumble. But Sami goes and hits Roman in the back with the chair, a la how Seth turned on the Shield several years ago. Well, now we have the match coming up at Elimination Chamber. Now, I'm kind of under the thought process that, this should probably be at WrestleMania, if not for Cody Rhodes. If not for Cody Rhodes and his return and, the whole thing behind him, I would be okay moving Sami and Roman to WrestleMania. But the money match, the match that more people are going to want to see, and that's not taking anything away from Sami. I love Sami. I love this whole Bloodline story. I've talked about it ad nauseum on the show over the last year, 8, 9 months, whatever. So I am fully aware that the crowd is hot for Sami Zayn. He's arguably the biggest babyface in the company now. But if you watch Raw, Cody got one hell of a reaction. Even knowing that, he was going to go on to WrestleMania, the main event, against the champion, who at the time is Roman Reigns. There was a thought that maybe people might turn on Cody, that they'd rather see Sami in that spot main event, that they didn't want Cody, that there's a chance that, the crowd could turn on Cody Rhodes. And that's still a possibility. Now, if I were WWE, I would keep Cody off of the Elimination Chamber, just in case. Now, the Canadian crowds are always crazy, in a good way. And I mean that in such a good way. The Canadian crowd, especially the Montreal crowds, are always very vocal. And I expect Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks to be insane. I'm really looking forward to Elimination Chamber. And again, we'll talk about the matches we know here in a little bit. But there also a report came out earlier this week that Triple H and Vince McMahon did not see Sami as quote-unquote the guy as a main event player long-term in WWE. And I don't want to say I agree with them, but I get their logic. Now, from a business standpoint, we're looking at this as a business standpoint. And this is a fan-generated podcast. So let me put on my business thought process hat here for a minute. From a business standpoint, Cody versus Roman is the match. That is the money match. People were so excited when Cody came back at last year's WrestleMania. People are just buying up his merch, his figures, all this stuff. It's Cody Mania is running wild right now in WWE. It has been a really good story. Unfortunately, he had the torn pec, which cost him several months of action. But, he made his return at the Rumble as well. And, if I'm in the offices of WWE, to me, the money match is Cody and Roman. Hands down. From the fans' perspective, it's Roman versus Sami. Easy. Now, there's several ways that the WWE could get around this. They could just have Sami put on a really good show at the Elimination Chamber. Roman just beating the ever-living hell out of him. Kevin Owens comes out to save him, which leads to Sami and KO versus the Usos at WrestleMania. But I think there's more to play there, and that's because we didn't see Jay on SmackDown. We should see him next week, I believe. So it'd be really interesting to see Jay's stance in this storyline, because that's the one piece we didn't really get this past week, was Jay's perspective. He's posted some stuff on social media, but not everybody follows social media, so the main story needs to be told on television. So we'll probably find out next Friday where Jay stands in all of this. But another thing you could do is have Sami come close, but lose. Cody did cut his promo on Raw, but he could change his mind because when he first came back, he said he wanted to win the WWE Championship. That was his goal, the WWE Championship. He didn't say, I want to win the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. He didn't say he wanted to win the Universal title. He wants the WWE title. Roman carries both belts. So you could have, Sami come close and then work it where he gets a shot at the Universal Championship, say on night 1. Cody gets a shot at the WWE Championship on night 2. Roman defends both belts. You can have him win one, lose both. Either way, there's so many different ways you could, play this out. Now, the fans in Montreal for Elimination Chamber are going to be the same type of fans are going to be at WrestleMania. WrestleMania fans, they come in from all over the world. You get the international fan base in there. You get the hardcore fans in there. They are going to be loud. And if you have Sami Zayn main eventing, night 1 of WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, you're going to have an intense crowd reaction. Or you could even have, to be perfectly honest, I'd probably do Cody and Roman on night 1. Because Cody would say, if he beats Roman on night 2 after wrestling a match the night before, they could extend that story. Say, well, I wasn't at 100%. I went through a match the night before. But if you have Cody take on Roman night 1, Sami and Roman night 2, you give Sami a little bit of an advantage, and then you could have, you could play that out a lot of different ways. But, there's so many things at play here. And there's not a lot of time because WrestleMania is coming up. It is April 1st and 2nd. So, if you hear the dogs in the background, I apologize. So, you got Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks. And then you have, the month of March before you get to WrestleMania weekend. So, there's not a lot of time to tell these stories. And with Triple H in charge, I have all the confidence in the world that he's going to give us not only what's going to make them the most money, but also what we want as the culmination of storylines. Will they be able to tell 2 simultaneous stories going into Mania if they do the belt split with Roman and Sami and Cody? Cody's story could take place on Raw. The Sami Roman stuff could take place on SmackDown. But really, Cody Roman's not going to pick up until March. It's not going to pick up until after Elimination Chamber. So, the majority of this speculation stuff can really start ramping up in the next, 2 weeks. After the next 2 weeks, I should say. After Elimination Chamber, after we see where things land with Roman and Sami, how KO is involved, how the rest of the bloodline is involved in this story. That's really when we can probably get a good guesstimate of where this story is going to lead heading into WrestleMania. But for right now, it's really hard to speculate. But again, what would I'd rather see? I'd rather see Sami beat Roman at WrestleMania. Like, that's what I would love to see. After all Sami has done for the bloodline, after how he was treated, the culmination of that story, the boyhood dream, to quote the Shawn Michaels from WrestleMania 12, they could do a lot with Sami. Now, is Sami Zayn a world champion? Let me put it this way. Sami Zayn can carry a lot of wrestling promotions as its top star. The WWE, though, unfortunately, I don't believe that. I love Sami Zayn. I was a big fan of his coming up through NXT and ever since he's been with the company. But as far as being the guy, the top guy, I don't know. At least not long term. Do they want to give him the belt at Mania and then maybe have him drop it at what's coming up in May? Money in the Bank, maybe? Money in the Bank? That's another thing you play. If they put the Money in the Bank matches on WrestleMania, you can have someone cash in because the Money in the Bank contract is only good for one belt. It's good for one title opportunity. You could have someone win the Money in the Bank in the opener, like a Sami Zayn, and challenge to take, the longest reigning title that Roman has, the Universal title, later in the night. You could do something like that, and then have him one-on-one versus Cody the next night. There's so many things, And everybody's kind of like, I don't want to say losing their minds because that's not the right term, but everybody's got a very strong opinion on what WWE should do. And yet we don't even know what they're going to do at Elimination Chamber. So my thought process is let's just let the story play out as it plays out, and just hopefully we're entertained. We're sports entertained by what Triple H and the creative team have in store for us coming up. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. What would you do with Sami and Roman? Maybe we'll do a fantasy booking episode. I talked about this last week. Maybe we'll do that post Elimination Chamber review. We'll fantasy book WrestleMania. You know, we obviously know some stuff. Maybe we'll do it before Elimination Chamber, see how things play out over the next couple weeks, what kind of big news stories and whatnot, any good topics that might be coming up to talk about here on the podcast. But that's my thoughts. There's a lot of things that you could do. There's been several videos I've seen. You could probably just Google or search it on YouTube if you want to check those out. There's a lot of stuff out there, speculation, but that's my thoughts. I don't think it's a problem, but I think that depending on what the crowd reaction is at Elimination Chamber, there could be an issue. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens, and I have full faith in Triple H as head of creative to come up with something really good for Elimination Chamber, and then for the month after Elimination Chamber leading in to WrestleMania. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back with the Elimination Chamber news and WrestleMania news here on Wrestling with Fans. Alright guys, coming back in here, let's talk Elimination Chamber, officially Elimination Chamber. It's going to come to us again from the Bell Center in Montreal, Quebec, Canada on Saturday, February the 18th. It is just under 2 weeks away from tonight as I'm recording. I'm recording this on Sunday, February the 5th. Right now, we know of 3 matches. The aforementioned Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn, so we're not going to talk about that. There are also 2 Elimination Chamber matches, and both of them are for the Raw brand this time. Now, I guess we can talk briefly, and then we'll touch on this when I get to the WrestleMania stuff. On Raw this past week, Rhea Ripley, the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble match, challenged Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania. So, to determine Bianca Belair's opponent for WrestleMania 39, we are having a Women's Elimination Chamber match to determine who gets that Raw Women's title shot at WrestleMania 39. Right now, we know 5 of the 6 participants. There were some qualifying matches on Monday Night Raw. Right now, we have Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalya, and one more person to be determined. Now, with Rhea picking Charlotte, my money is on Asuka and her Kana persona, which is the name I could not think of last week, so there is that. To take this match and go on to face Bianca at WrestleMania, which I think will be a knockdown, drag-out match. I would really love to see Bianca and Asuka on the biggest stage of them all. Also announced for Elimination Chamber is an Elimination Chamber match for the United States Championship. Austin Theory will be defending against 5 other people, and after Raw we find out who 3 of them are, with Seth freaking Rollins, Johnny Gargano, and Bronson Reed winning qualifying matches, and then 2 more participants to be determined. I imagine they'll have those matches this week on Raw. So if you're listening to this midweek, you probably know who the rest of this match is. But those are the 3 matches for Elimination Chamber, and I just got to say the U.S. title match is like a Triple H wet dream with Austin Theory, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, brought up through NXT. Seth Rollins also came up through NXT. But Gargano and Reed and Theory were 3 of Triple H's guys from their time in NXT. So I'm really hoping we get some more people. I'd love to see like Tommaso Ciampa come back if he's able to and get in this. I think that would be really awesome. Have Gargano, Ciampa, and Reed. These guys are like from my favorite era of NXT over, pre 2.0, going back to like 2016, era of NXT, which is when it was at my absolute favorite part of it. So we have 3 matches announced for Elimination Chamber. I imagine we'll get some more stuff on the SmackDown side next week. And I'm looking forward to it. I'll probably have some people over to watch it here, get some of them onto the podcast as well. But that is Elimination Chamber, 2 weeks from this weekend. Looking forward to it. Now let's quickly jump back over to WrestleMania. We'll just stay in the same segment here. Of course, we have the aforementioned Roman Reigns defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against the Men's Royal Rumble winner, Cody Rhodes. That, of course, is subject to change based on what happens at Elimination Chamber in 2 weeks. But for right now, it's Roman defending the belts against Cody. Of course, also announced on Monday Night Raw, Rhea Ripley made her choice. She's going after Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which I absolutely love that decision as well. Some people were saying Rhea versus Bianca would be better. You know, that if anybody could beat the power of Bianca Belair, it would be Rhea Ripley. But I wholeheartedly disagree. To me, Rhea needs to get her revenge on Charlotte for what happened, was it 3 years ago at WrestleMania, the COVID WrestleMania, when it was in the Performance Center where, Charlotte had won the Rumble. Rhea came out and challenged Charlotte to challenge her for her NXT Women's title. Rhea was the NXT Women's Champion at the time. Charlotte, of course, defeating Rhea. That I still didn't like that decision. It did bring Charlotte to NXT for a while, which could or could not have added some extra eyes to the brand. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but I wasn't a fan of that move. I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of make a star, so to speak, with having Rhea go over Charlotte. So maybe they're trying to make up for that Vince McMahon booking decision a few years ago. And we'll see Mommy wearing the blue SmackDown Women's Championship in April. And then, of course, Bianca will defend against the Women's Elimination Chamber match coming up at Elimination Chamber. There's 2 nights to fill. There's so many cool matches. I'm sure Austin Theory will defend the U.S. title. Whoever has the U.S. Championship at the time will be defending it. Gunther will be defending the IC title. There's rumors that it could be a match with Sheamus or a triple threat with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, which I think will be awesome. That's 3 beefy boys slapping meat, as they say. I would be very excited for that. Usos will be defending one of or both of the tag team titles by that point. Maybe they'll have one of the belts off of them. Maybe the Raw belts will come off of them, which would be my guess, because they've been defending one brand's belt at a time. And I think it's only a matter of time before they lose one of those sets of belts. But again, I don't want to get too much into the predictions because, like I said, I do want to do a fantasy booking WrestleMania 39 episode here in the very near future. Looking forward to that. But that's all that I have this week. I just wanted to talk about the Sami situation, update where we stand post Royal Rumble going into Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania post Royal Rumble as well. Got new videos on YouTube. Make sure you head over and check them out. If you checked it out in the social media commercial, which you're going to hear again here in just a minute. Fig Friday has been really, really fun doing that each and every week so far. And I'm going to pull up, because I don't even remember which videos I've released. So I'm going to pull that up while I'm recording live. Let's see. And that's what I need right there. There's the channel. And right now, so I posted last week, it was the Ringside Casket Playsets this past Friday. The week before, it was a huge accessory bundle from Ringside Collectibles. The week before that was the big Ringside Haul overall. Posted a Karrion Kross Elite 85 video, which was a lot of fun to do. John Cena top picks. 2 years worth of top picks. Was the first official Fig Friday, every single Friday on the Wrestling with Fans YouTube channel. You can check out a brand new wrestling figure related video. So that is what you can expect. And then the podcast will go up, and then some other videos working on too. And then just found some cool stuff with OBS, and now does vertical. So I'm going to be making a lot of TikTok content as well to try to get some more eyes and ears on the show. But that's going to do it for all that I have here. But before I go, one more time, make sure you follow us on all the social medias that you're going to hear right now. Let me just interrupt myself here for a quick moment. First off, thank you for checking out Wrestling with Fans here on YouTube. If you're enjoying what you see, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up and click that subscribe button down below. The other ways you can help support the show is to follow us across all of our other social medias. Check us out, facebook.com/Wrestling with Fans. Hulk, smash that like button to keep up to date with everything going on here with Wrestling with Fans. Or you can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wrestling with Fans. Check us out on the web at WrestlingWithFans.com. New audio shows go up every single Sunday at midnight. Or you can take us on the go and download us to your favorite podcast listening device. You can get us wherever you get your podcast fix. Just search Wrestling with Fans Podcast. We are on all the major platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. Wherever you get your podcast fix, you can find Wrestling with Fans. Last but certainly not least, comments, questions, feedback, topics you want covered on the show, shoot me an email, wwfshow@gmail.com. Again, that's wwfshow@gmail.com. Links to everything are down in the video description and down below, so make sure you check that out. Without further ado, back to the show. Alright guys, and there you have it. Again, thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate the support. We are closing in on 5 years of Wrestling with Fans at the end of March, which is going to be probably, the 5-year anniversary show will probably be a WrestleMania preview / anniversary show. I'm going to put some feelers out to all the old crew, some new and old faces, and hopefully be able to get everybody in here for one epic night to celebrate 5 years of Wrestling with Fans. So be on the lookout for that. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. Once again, my name is Kyle, and I'll see you next time right here on Wrestling with Fans.